I am Swapan Parekh, the son of the legendary Indian photojournalist and photographer Kishore Parekh. And basically, my father's connection with the liberation movement was this book called Bangladesh: A Brutal Birth, which is now a very rare document, and I also have just one copy of it. And to tell you a little about my father, of course, in India and probably even internationally, he was considered the pioneer of journalism or revolutionizing photojournalism in India, especially in the 1960s. And probably the only Indian photographer at that time who actually had 5 years of formal training in the US in photography. And he kind of changed the face of Indian photojournalism by using pictures very big in the newspapers. And at that time it was the Hindustan Times. He was the chief photographer there. And he was the one who introduced credit lines for Indian photographers and full-page photo essays. This whole journey of his into this war zone and why and how he did this book. Because I'm a photographer also, and I trained as a photojournalist. So for me, it's the legacy of my father. And from whatever bits and pieces and hearsays we've collected on that, it's that we had shifted as a family to Southeast Asia, where he was the picture editor. He had left India in 1969, and he was a picture editor of slightly more softer magazines, which were dealing more with travel and stories, more on the National Geographic kind of lines. And when this liberation movement was going on, we used to have this ritual of going to the beach on Sunday. It was called the Big Wave Beach in Hong Kong. And my mom keeps telling me, of course she's no more also, but she kind of conferred that to me in terms of what happened then. And I have a faint recollection of being on the beach that day. And he was just in tears. He was crying. And he says, my country's burning, my subcontinent's burning, and here I am just sitting on the beach. He said, I can't take this. I just got to be in the war zone. I got to go back, even if it means returning to journalism after, the span of 3 years. So he basically just went back to the office, picked up, I think, 25 rolls of film, and told his mom, I don't know when I'm coming back. I'm just going in. But she says, no one's assigned you this. And he tried it with the local editors there, and they said, Kishore, what would these pictures mean for us? We're like a glossy, travel magazine. So he said, I don't care, I'm just going, So he lands up here in India and asks a friend to just drive him till the border. So from Calcutta, he gets on a friend's car, convincing him, and the pugnacious character that he was, no one said no to him. So he said, okay, well, let's go. And he lands up there at the border, and he just tells his friend, go back. So he says, but Kishore, you're all alone. He said, no, just go back. I'm telling you, you'll be caught with me. It's no point. So he reaches the border, and then at the border, there was this contingent of Indian press representatives who were going into the war zone as the official correspondents of the war. And of course, he was famous as a photographer. People knew him, but he had no accreditation at that time from the Indian government because he didn't officially have any permission. So here we are. He says, okay, he just takes his bags and just makes a dash towards a helicopter that was leaving with the press troop, and dashes into the helicopter. And there's an army major there of the Indian Army. He says, who are you? And of course, the other photographers say, oh, this is Kishore Parekh. But he says, but I can't take you officially. You don't have any documents with you. And of course, Raghu Rai, who obviously everyone also knows now, who was his colleague from the days in the 60s when they were contemporaries. He says, Kishore, are you, what's this all about? And he says, no. He told the major, you know what, I'm standing here. Shoot me or take me. And which was as typical of my father. Knowing the character he was, he always wanted to, get his way through, come what may. The pictures is what matters. And so the major says, I can't. He says, no, I'm standing here, just kill me. And then his friends, Raghu Rai and the other photographers who were there, probably told the major, just let it be. So he says, okay, this never happened, the major says. You weren't here, I take you in, I drop you there, and, we don't talk about this. So that's exactly how he landed in the conflict area. And then I believe through sketchy references that, he kind of hitchhiked on trucks and whatever, and kind of reached the zone. And then he photographed the movement. So I wouldn't say the movement. By that time, it was like the peak of I think the battle. So between I think for about 10 or 11 days, he photographed what was happening till the day of surrender, and probably during that process realized the material that he had. And what also was interesting to probably add at this point is that there was very limited amount of film that he had because he just left. During the process, he probably felt that he's running out of film, and it seems that a friend of his was going back to Southeast Asia. They just crossed paths, and I believe, I'm not sure where it was, but I've heard stories about it being at the airport, and the departure and arrival lounges used to be on different floors. And he kind of just signaled to him, and this guy threw a box of 20 rolls at him. So that's how he got more film. So these are stories, like the chronology may not be, in a sequence as far as I'm saying it, but I'm just giving you these tidbits as I recall everything in terms of what people have told me. And so here we are with limited amount of film, and probably when the surrender happened in mid-December, I think he must have realized that he has probably enough material. He already, the character in him must be in his head saying that, you know what, probably I need to do something more with this than just give it to the international press. And he, I think, shot the surrender and immediately made a back dash towards Hong Kong. And I think for 4 days, just processed and printed his own stuff with the help of other assistants in the office. Didn't come home. At least as a family, we knew he was okay, because I think just before the surrender, they were able to contact us. And he just put together a dummy of this book, and he just made a dash back. So before others were really putting together their version of the war, because I think the press tube that went and his colleagues like Raghuran, they said that when he came back, he just came with this dummy. And all of us just looked at it and said, this is the war, this is it. And so and they're gracious enough to have said that, so we told Kishore that this is the document of the war. So that's when the foreign ministry in India saw it, and they said, okay, let's make this the official document of the war. And they ordered 20,000 copies, and the rest, as they say, is history. So yeah, it's been a journey, and it's just considered even there as a photographer, when I'm speaking about this work internationally at different forums, it's still considered a great piece of photojournalism, and it's in a few archives as, great photographers of, in different eras. And what is also, when I come here to Bangladesh for the first time, I can see it on the streets. I see images of from this book that are being used as iconic images of the war. And of course, I won't talk about the copyright issues because there were no permissions taken, but obviously they've taken it from printed arenas, wherever this book was. And I can see it all over Bangladesh. I can see it in their official government handout that we get in our hotel room. So in a sense, it's amazing for me as a son and as a photographer to actually come a full circle and see his legacy and what it means to these people, these images. I mean, I've heard about it when I see it firsthand. And when I see the foreign minister actually in tears yesterday, I could understand the sentiments that this country has seen such a struggle, and there's a little bit of, I wouldn't say a little bit, a lot of pain in everyone's life. And in a not so, it's just 40 years, which is maybe in historical sense, I mean, it's not so long ago. So I think it's just amazing. I think it's a sense of also, I wouldn't say completion, but some kind of redemption. When I'm here and seeing his legacy, it feels rather strange that he came in here on the top of a truck and fought his way into the war zone, and here we are, myself and my sister, who's also representing him, landing in comfortably on an aircraft. But I guess, he's there watching, and I think I need to do more with this. I really, really want to look at the possibility of how we can further this great piece of journalism, this great piece of, I would say, a great piece of history that people here value. And I really, really saw it firsthand when I was here.